Shalom, shalom. This week's Parsha is Parshat Vayeitzei, and I want to take a few minutes to talk about something that has always been a big question on my mind throughout the years, and now through the lens of our Parsha and the Jewish nation is going through today, I feel like I have a better understanding, and I'd like to share my thoughts with you. So my question always was, on Pesach, we read in the Haggadah, there's a quick accounting of the Jewish history, and it tells us that it begins with Arami Oved Avi, that there was an Armenian who tried to destroy our father. And we're told that this is Lavan who wanted to destroy Yaakov. And we're told that he's worse than Paro. And for me, I was always not really understanding this. How could it be? Paro was so harsh to the whole entire Jewish nation, enslaving them. And if it was not for God miraculously plucking them out of Egypt, they would have been utterly obliterated. They would have not been here today if God had not taken them out through miracles and brought them into the promised land. So how could it be that Laban is worse than Paro? And I want to take a look at the story in this week's Parsha to try and give you a glimpse of what I see and what I'm understanding now, what it means. And so in the story, we'll give a quick synopsis. It begins with when Yaakov ran away from his home because Esau, his brother, wanted to kill him because he had gotten the blessing of the Bechor, and he ran to his mother's brother's house, Lavan. And we're told he comes there empty-handed. He has nothing. But Lavan's like, all right, anyway, still you're my brother. Come, stay with me. And then after a month, Lavan says to him, but should you be here and work for me for nothing? Like, tell me what your wages are. So apparently right away, Yaakov, being the honest person he wanted to be able to pull his weight and started helping out a lot. And they already started incurring blessing from the day one when Yaakov was there. And everything that he did was blessed. And Lavan wants to keep him. He was afraid he was going to leave and he wanted to keep him. So Yaakov says, okay, I'll work for you 7 years, because he had his eye on Rachel. He wanted to marry her. He loved her. And he said, I'll work for you 7 years for Rachel, which Lavan agreed to. But of course, she tricked him. And on the wedding night, behold, he gave Yaakov Leah, and Yaakov was very upset. And he comes to him in the morning after he discovers this, and Laban's like, well, it's not our way here to give the younger daughter before the elder daughter. Hello, you could have said that when you made the agreement. So I did that. But Yaakov, he listens and he works another 7 years because he loves Rachel so much, and he marries Rachel. And then after that, he wants to leave, but again, Lavan knows through his divinations that he's blessed, that everything that he has amassed now while Yaakov is there is because Yaakov is blessed. Everything he does, God blesses, and he wants to keep Yaakov there because he wants more and more and more blessing. And so he convinces Yaakov not to go. He says, just again, what wages do you want? And Yaakov, being more than fair, says, I'll take, and he says, whatever, he's going to work, he's going to take care of the sheep and the flock, and he'll take only, the speckled, spotted, all the, what should have been the minority of things, and, everything else, the plain white, the plain brown, will be yours. I'll take care of everything. And Laban agrees to this, but right away, again, tricking him, separates so that there shouldn't be, the flock shouldn't give birth. So he separates the speckled and spotted ones with his sons, 3 days distance between the other ones, so that when they mate, they should all end up being pure white or pure brown and going to Lavan. But of course, God blesses Yaakov. Yaakov manages to make a plan and has an abundant amount of these speckled, spotted ones anyway. And Lavan is so upset. He keeps trying to trick Yaakov to amass more wealth, even though he's doing really well at this point. But he wanted more, and he wanted everything. He got really greedy. But Yaakov was doing really, really well because God was blessing him and better. And so then the sons of Lavan got really upset and angry and infuriated, and they spoke to the father, who was also starting to show. It was their countenance had changed. Yaakov could see it on their face, the hatred, the jealousy, the anger. And he said to his wives, we really, we got to leave. God had told him at this point, you have to leave, because it was now going to be a real threat. So even God said to leave. He spoke to his wives. They go, leave, do not say anything about it. And after 3 days, they're noticed being that they're missing, and Laban chases after him, and it takes 7 days to catch up. And Laban says to Yaakov very clearly, he's like, how did you run away with, you took my daughters, and these children are, they're my sons, and these are my daughters, and everything that you have is mine. It's all mine. Despite the fact that Yaakov worked really, really hard to an agreement that Lavan made, and he did more than his fair share of work to acquire everything he acquired, and it was his. It was rightfully Yaakov's, and Lavan was saying, no, my daughters, your children, his grandchildren, my children, and this is all my stuff. But God had warned him not to harm, not to do anything to Yaakov, and so because he was afraid, he didn't. But he hated him, and he wanted him dead, and he wanted all of this to be his. Rav Tzadok HaKohen from Lublin says he wanted to erase the name of Yaakov. He wanted it to be his daughters and his sons, in his name and his legacy, to obliterate the name of Yaakov Yisrael, and to take everything and it to be his legacy. But God warned against it. It's the only reason it didn't happen, and they made a peace agreement only because of the fear of God, because God came to him personally not to do anything. But this was something that he harbored, a hatred that lived on throughout time. This idea where certain nations, I don't have to be so explicit, who think that whatever Israel has, what we've rightfully earned, is theirs. It's not ours. And they come up with all sorts of lies and trickery and deceit, and they say that it's all theirs. Nothing belongs to us. And it's really something that's followed us through the ages, and something that they just constantly want to destroy us till this day. I mean, the Jewish nation, wherever we were, whenever we prospered, everybody said, it's not theirs, it's ours. They sucked it from us, and they ended up chasing us out or persecuting us, and us leaving, and then the country went in the toilet. But they thought everything that we had was theirs. And if that's not proof enough that once the Jews left, all the prosperity ended up going down the toilet, again, time and time again in history, that should tell the people something. But no. And then we finally, after 2,000 years, we get back this country, Israel, that God promised to us. Not because we grabbed it and took it and stole it. It became ours through the course of events in history, with the nations agreeing on it. And we come to the land, and we take this land that's made out of, it's if you looked at the land of rock and the soil, not something that you can grow, and come up with these gorgeous, amazing fruit trees and greenery and flowers that God has blessed the Jewish people, the Bnei Yaakov, the Bnei Yisrael, and we managed to prosper. And now, once we prosper, the people that live here say, no, it's ours. All this is ours. And they believe it's theirs, and they want us destroyed. And halavai, God can come down and tell these people, don't touch them, do not hurt them. But they do. They try and destroy us. It's this Lavan. It's the philosophy of everything you have is not yours. It's mine, and they deserve it somehow, even though we've worked hard for it. Even though that it was God's promise to us, even though that we've never taken anything, we've won things in wars, in defensive wars. We've taken lands some lands that they don't even live on, and we've made these beautiful produce grow from the ground. We've come up with technology, come up with all sorts of things, and they just want it to be theirs, even though it's rightfully ours, and try and take it away and try and destroy us and try and kill us. And this is something that haunts us till this very day. And it's great difficulty. And this is what makes Lavan worse than Pharaoh, because at that time it was harsh and God took us out, but then that civilization has gone and it's no more. But the Lavan is something that it stayed around and it festered and it always rears its ugly head throughout time. And the only way, because God's not coming down and talking to people right now, the only way for us to get through this is to connect ourselves with God and to acknowledge that God runs the world and that we know and that we believe in his promise, and to do right and to do good and to not fall into the trap and not to do the horrible things that they do, but to keep just and right and good and godly. And if we act godly, we will incur God's blessing and we'll make it through this. And we'll make it through this not only, just to the other end, but with a promising future. But we have to always know, and we have to always connect, and we have to always turn to God, and know who runs the show, and keep it honest. And in that way, we'll incur God's blessing. I wish you Shabbat Shalom.